Welcome. Welcome to all our members and guests to our second digital AGM, and welcome to anyone who is watching this on YouTube after today. So, here is the agenda for today. I'm hoping we can cover all this in some 40 to 45 minutes. You've all been put on mute for this part of the day, and I'd be pleased to stay around for an informal chat with anybody about anything afterwards. If you've got any questions or any other business that you want to raise, then please put these in the chat pane. Now, I thought I'd start off with a quick reminder of what HSP is. I know that most of you here today know this all back to front, but those watching on YouTube may not. HSP stands for Hereditary Spastic Paraplegia, which is an umbrella term. There are over 80 different types of HSP. It's a rare disease with estimates of prevalence of around 3 in 100,000. Because it is rare, health professionals have not usually heard of it. The main symptom affecting pretty much everyone is spasticity or weakness in the legs, which deteriorates over time as the spine degrades and messages between brain are interrupted. There is great variation between individuals in the age at which HSP starts, the speed of progression of HSP, and how much it affects individuals. Other symptoms frequently occur. These include bladder urgency or frequency, pain, and fatigue. The effects of HSP can vary from day to day with individuals, and there's a long list of other symptoms which can affect people. Given that HSP is rare, getting a diagnosis can be challenging. There are genetic tests available for some types of HSP, but not others. The early symptoms of HSP are similar to other conditions, and the progression of HSP in an individual is very hard to predict. The similarity with other conditions often leads to misdiagnosis. Many people with HSP often feel isolated, lonely, or depressed. Information about HSP is often hard to find, and some people find it hard to accept that they have this progressive condition. Right now, there are no cures for HSP. All of the available treatments are around symptom management. It is worth remembering that there are great teams of researchers working on HSP, increasing understanding and looking for potential cures. Now you've heard about HSP, this is a quick reminder of the support group's mission statement. So people with HSP, their families and carers are at the heart of everything we do. Our information and support helps improve the quality of life for those affected by HSP. Our friendly support community helps with sharing ideas and reducing feelings of isolation. We support research into HSP, including developing treatments and improving understanding. So the support group is a registered charity. All the work that is done for the group is done on a voluntary basis. Our main area is providing support to those with HSP. We do this by having a community to share stories and information, and by awarding grants to members to help purchase equipment. There are 3 main ways we create our community: by meetings, through our newsletter, and on our website. You'll hear more about the website later, but our newsletter news link comes out 2 to 3 times a year, and we're always keen to hear about members' activities, stories, and opinions. You can download these from our website. Meetings can be of any size, from 2 people meeting up in the pub through to our largest event, the AGM. There can be presentations or just be an informal chat. Since coronavirus, we've been holding these online. This talk of meetings allows me to move seamlessly into our first committee report from Meetings Committee. So, the Meetings Committee is the group of people that organise our meetings. They give support to meeting organisers and look into new locations for meetings. This year, there have been new regional Zoom meetings, which we hope to be able to convert into face-to-face meetings once coronavirus restrictions are sufficiently lifted. There have also been national Zoom meetings, including one on Christmas Day. We're also targeting some meetings to those who are feeling lonely or low. The committee have prepared a wonderful meetings guide to help people start up new group meetings in their area or digitally. I've read this, it's fantastic. There have been a few new faces looking to set up meetings in their areas, and I thank them for doing this. Hopefully, the welcome pack shares top tips and reduces the stresses of doing something new. Anyone with an organisational head who likes a jolly good natter is welcome to step forward and have a go at doing this. I thank all of the meeting organisers. The work they do is brilliant. It forms a really vital part of our support community, and the committee seems to be working well. Finally, I thank Hilary and Jane, who stepped up to chair the new committee last year. Truly an in at the deep end experience. Hilary is stepping down as chair of this committee, and I'd welcome someone else to think about helping coordinate our friendly group of meeting organisers. Next, we turn to Research Committee. There have been no new applications for funding for research projects this year. We've created a new newsletter for researchers to help develop our links with this community better. Mitesh made a call for students studying neurology and neurosurgery to help the group. The two key outcomes from this are Yuki, who has made the highlights videos on our YouTube channel, and Remy, who wrote an essay for the Student Voice Award. And following a connection from Mike Kane, we've managed to get some HSP projects onto the final year thesis list for master's students studying genetics at Cardiff. And hopefully in a year or two, I'll be able to ask you if you wish to help Sydney and Giovanna with their studies to help us. You may recall at the last AGM, I announced we'd agreed funding for 3 research projects. These have all been affected to some degree by COVID. At Exeter, the student is ready to start in August, and they will be looking to get families into the clinic later in the autumn. The team have been undertaking other relevant work in the meantime, which will be published soon. At Sheffield, they have a student lined up to start in September or October. Research fellows from other projects have been doing some of the activities for this project in order to maintain momentum. In Italy, the research was carried out and the paper published. They identified a potential drug target, and I'm seeking to find out more information about this. Now, next up, we move to Membership Committee, and so hopefully the technology can work and we can get Mitesh.
Hi, everyone. So I'm just going to run through the membership numbers for the year. So I don't know how many of you have seen my face anyway. I'm just trying to see through who the new members are from this year, but I'm Mitesh. I've kind of gradually taken over from Ian over the last year or so. And the map on the right, I have to give credit to John for this. It's slightly better than the one I created, but this is a map of kind of where our members are currently. It's just helped to give a slight guide to where our members are. And you can see they're quite well scattered across the UK, with some in Wales and Northern Ireland and Scotland. We'll try and hopefully target some areas maybe in future as well. And on the left, it's just some of the new members that we've had over the last, well, 7 months this year. So we've got 18 members already this year. And I think since I've been doing this, it seems like we're bringing in new members all the time, which is always nice to see. So I just want to say, hello to the new members that are here, and hopefully you'll benefit from being part of the group. And I think our numbers are staying steadily stable, but we are getting new members all the time, including those from the health professional background, as well as students who want to get involved with the group, which is always good to see. And at the bottom, we just mentioned about our honorary members. So we've got healthcare professionals from 33 UK institutions. So hopefully, as time goes on, they'll be more keen to kind of do talks for the group itself, and also hopefully get involved with the AGM in the future.
Lovely. Brilliant. That's brilliant. Thank you very much, Mitesh. And now we move over to Fundraising Committee. So the key message here is to thank everybody who has supported the group with fundraising activities throughout the year. I know that it's been tough for many people, and we are delighted to hear that some people have made a special effort to raise money for us at this time. You will hear some specific details a little bit later when we get to the awards part. Please note that we are very happy to support any fundraising ideas which people have. Before we leave fundraising, I'd like to say a special thanks to Ian Bennett for organising the virtual Potato Pants Festival this year. A fantastic time was had by all, as we watched and listened to Amy, Mikey, Matt and Matt singing a lovely range of tunes. During the event, the funds kept coming in, and I've taken the liberty of rounding the total up a little bit and call it £1,000 raised. It's our biggest fundraising event of the year. I'm hoping that the festival becomes back to being face-to-face very soon. Just as a quick reminder, there are easy ways that anyone can help raise money for the group. Those that shop with Amazon can switch to the Amazon Smile app and raise money for the group using their normal Amazon account at no extra cost. There's also easy fundraising, which installs a toolbar in your browser and can trigger donations from many popular retailers, also at no cost. And we've got pages on Just Giving and Virgin Money for donations of any other kind. There are a few other activities which have gone on outside the remit of the committees. As you know, last year was the first digital AGM, and since then we've got a YouTube channel where you can watch this and the subsequent presentations, and I'll be uploading the video of this over the next few days. There have been over 360 views of last year's AGM, over 1,300 views of the 3 presentations from last year, and over 600 views of the highlights and the Q&A videos which Yuki has made for us. We held our first awards here last year, and you'll get to see this year's awards soon. Now, this page is very similar to one I put up last year. A few people have seen this in the year and been in touch, which is brilliant. We still need more help. Of note for the coming year, we need to get a new treasurer and a new secretary, as John and Dave have both said they wish to stand down from next year at the end of their terms. And Hilary, as I said, is stepping down as meetings committee chair. It would be brilliant to have more diverse opinions at our trustee meetings. Us trustees are all men and not as young as we used to be. So it would be great to hear from people like parents of children with HSP, from those with more complex HSP, from those who care for others with HSP, from younger people, from ladies, and anyone else really. It would be very great to hear from other minority characteristics. Yes, we capture the disability side of things very well, but I don't know if our approach excludes certain sections of society that would benefit from our work. People do not have to have HSP to help the group, so give a shout if you can help or if you know someone who might be able to. Briefly back to meetings, but this is more about meetings we have attended rather than those we have organised. Mike Kane has done the vast majority of the work here, having represented the group at over 80 meetings since the last AGM, including a trip to Westminster in February. Mike's work helps get HSP and our name into the wider rare disease and disability world, and this increased awareness is important. Now, here's a quick reminder of our 4 social media channels: Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and the new YouTube channel. The numbers in brackets are the increases in followers for each channel. Facebook and Twitter continue to grow at a steady rate, and we've had a great uptake on our YouTube channel. LinkedIn is a bit of a slow burner at the moment. So, that whirlwind tour of our committees and activities brings us back to the agenda and now we're on to some of the more formal aspects of the AGM. So next up, we have our secretary for a report, and with any luck, I can hand over to Dave. Are you there, Dave? Do we have contact with Dave? No, we don't. We must have.
Is that any better?
Ah, that's much better.
Good.
Great.
Okay.
Thanks, Dave.
Now then, what do I have to do here? Right. Okay. So in terms of trustee meetings, we've had 5 meetings in the year, and I'll include the detailed dates in the minutes, but it's not really worth saying any more than that here. There's a complication that we had with getting our charity registration, which we voted for at the 2018 AGM. We got a registration with the new constitution accepted in January 2019, but after that we had to close off the financial year that was running against the old number and start to do our finances for the next financial year under the new registration number. Once we'd had a full cycle of that, in January of this year, we finally removed our earlier registration from the Commission's website. So it took us 2.5 years to implement that, but we're now solidly based on the new registration number. During the year, we've made grants to 2 members, and these have both been for mobility aids. We've approved and paid them. During the same year, which is running up till the end of April, and from the beginning of May to the end of April, we've paid one of the instalments, which was mentioned by Adam earlier, for the student at Exeter University. We've also paid a grant to the University in Rome during doing neurodegeneration research in HSP, and we have approved a 3rd grant to Sheffield, but the payment for that is currently being delayed due to the pandemic. We're actively negotiating as to how to make the payments successfully. As you heard, £1,000 has been made at the Potato Pants Festival, and we agreed as trustees that we could assign that money to support a particular member's grant. This helps us to give some positive feedback to those who supported and helped with the festival. You've also heard that we've been running our new website for a year now. It was launched at last year's AGM, and it has created a lot of interest. For example, over the last year, we've noticed an increase in the number of people contacting us via the site. As of the middle of May, we'd had over 80 such contact messages in less than a year. So I'd like to thank again member Jenny Preston, who maintains the site for us. Thank you, Jenny, and that's me finished.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, Dave. That's great. And now, hopefully, we can seamlessly move across to John, our treasurer. John, are you there?
I think I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, very good. And let me press this button. And over to you, John.
Good morning, everybody. I've got 3 slides, the details of income, of expenditure, and then the balance sheet at the end of the year. Here's income. First of all, you can see how our income is split between subscriptions. Subscriptions, you know, 0, 10, 15 pounds per head amount to £4,898. Donations and legacies, general individual fundraising somewhat down this year, but our total income £14,244.85. The next slide, please, is how we spent money this year. Grants to members, 2 grants, grants for research, meetings and AGM. These are meetings held around the country where we support the hire of meeting rooms and tea and coffee. Trustee expenses. Trustee expenses is really only travel to give the awards to members that we announce at the AGM. Newsletter, a lot of printing costs as always. Administration costs. Again, quite a lot of printing in there, general printing for the group. The cost of the website, the cost of the awards, the cost of Just Giving because we have to sign up to them, and subscriptions to various other mainly international HSP bodies. And then fundraising expenses at 120. So a total expenditure, £21,989.52. And the next slide, please. The balance sheet. This is the snapshot at the end of the year, or the start of the year and the end of the year, just to see what money we have and how it's allocated between various funds. So at the start of the year, we had 136,000 plus in the bank. Our income seen before 14,000, our expenditure seen before 21,000. So the movement of funds, we had a total outflow of funds this year of 7,744.67. And so our balance at the end of the year, £129,215.74. We hold two funds, general fund and restricted fund. Restricted fund is where people have given donations and expressed that they would like that money to go to research rather than general expenses. So we split the two up. This year we spent everything that we had in the restricted fund, so there's nothing left over in there. So everything else is in the general fund. And again, it's £129,215.74. And that is the simplified set of accounts. We are clearly financially viable, plenty of money in the bank, able to survive COVID quite easily. Look forward to next year. On the website, the full set of accounts that we submit to the charity commissioners will be published. It's more like about 20 pages rather than the 3 slides that I've just shown here. But the figures are compatible, and they go into a lot more detail. And I say they'll be published in the next few hours. Any questions?
I don't think you'll hear questions, John, because everyone's muted, but we'll pick up.
Anybody want to put their hands up, for example, to ask any questions? Otherwise, I give my thanks, as always, to Sonia, who really does nearly all the work on the accounts, and to Chris Harvey, our examiner, and both gave their time generously and without cost to the group. So thanks very much to both of those.
Wonderful. That's brilliant. Thank you very much, John. So now we can move on to the voting side of things. So this year, we've tried to make our voting more accessible to members to allow more of you to be able to vote on our business. Our current constitution allows for both postal and electronic voting, and we use those powers for this year's vote. Overall, 77 members cast votes, which is about 20% of our membership. Whilst this is a bigger turnout than we would get at a physical AGM, there is still a silent majority of members who have chosen not to vote. The proportion of postal and electronic votes roughly follows members' communication methods. There's a slightly higher turnout for those electronic voters than there are postal voters. A few members chose to abstain from 1 or 2 of the votes, but as you can see, the minutes, the accounts and the report have all been accepted unanimously. So that's worked really well. So next we move on to the exciting part, the awards. When we were reviewing the nominations this year, we could not decide between 2 of the nominations for fundraising. And so we took the novel step of having 2 fundraising awards this year. I remind you that any member is able to nominate anyone for either award. I would love to hear more from members who have about who has helped the group by raising funds or by raising awareness. Those personal stories really do help make connections with people who haven't heard about HSP or us. So the first award is for raising awareness of HSP, and this year the award goes to Jenny Preston. She has put in a lot of hard work getting our new website up and running. Since we launched the website last year, Jenny has been helping behind the scenes, sorting out issues that we've had and adding new pages here and there as things change. She is happy to work with the committees to develop various aspects. People should realize that the website works well on all types of device, which makes it easier for people to find out about us. I like that we're able to use the website to feed out news items and let the world know about our activities and us. As Dave mentioned, the website's opened up a new channel of communication with people, and as Mitesh mentioned, the website makes it easier for people to join the group, all thanks to Jenny's hard work. Now, Jenny has recorded a short video of thanks, and with any luck, this technology is going to work.
Thank you all very much for the award. It was very unexpected, but it is appreciated. It was just nice to be able to give something back, and I hope that the website helps to raise awareness for many, many years to come. Thank you.
Lovely. Now, our first fundraising award this year goes to Estelle Marshall. Back before coronavirus was a thing, Estelle had decided to climb Mount Snowdon, the highest mountain in Wales, and raise some money for the support group. Estelle knew that climbing Snowdon was going to be a challenge with her HSP, but she was determined to demonstrate that she is still able to do some things. Along came coronavirus and its travel restrictions, meaning that it was impossible to travel to Wales to do this. So Estelle took inspiration from Captain Sir Tom Moore's 100 laps of his garden and decided to do 100 laps of her very steep garden to combine the climbing with the walking and use this to raise some money for the group. Estelle's walk has raised over £700 for the group, and we are very pleased that she was able to find a way to support us in these most challenging times. Estelle was quite surprised to find that she'd been recognised with this award, and with any luck, she's here with us today, and with any luck, we're able to hear from her just now. Estelle, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
I certainly can. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I just want to say a big thank you for this award, and I'd like to do further fundraising and be more involved with the HSP Support Group, because I've found it such an invaluable source of support for myself, and I know that it'll support others. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Estelle. Thank you. Our second fundraising award this year goes to Jade Bennett. Jade has been raising money for the group for a number of years by taking part in running events and getting sponsorship. Her first run for the group was the Bournemouth Half Marathon back in 2015, and since then she has taken part in 2 more half marathons and 3 full marathons, including running both the London Marathon and the Edinburgh Marathon within a month or 2 of each other in 2018. For those of you that don't know, Jade's dad is Ian Bennett, our newsletter editor, former membership secretary and former chair. Back in 2015, Jade declared that she was not a natural athlete and that the first run was a huge personal challenge, but she was keen to make a big difference to the group. Jade has indeed made a big difference. John told me the other day that Jade's lifetime fundraising total for the group is not far off £5,000, which is fantastic. Jade's perception of herself as an athlete have also changed, as she told me now that she runs half marathons for fun. Now, Jade is also with us here today, and with any luck, we can hear from her directly. Jade, are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me, Adam?
I certainly can, thank you.
Brilliant. Well, I've put together a few bullet points. I hope if I'm speaking too long, please tell me. But I just wanted to say how proud I am to win the fundraising award, and it was such a surprise when Adam, you emailed me to tell me. I wasn't expecting it at all. So as you've already said, I started fundraising about 6 years ago, and obviously my dad's Ian, who you will all know, but I could see and hear stories of the differences that it was making to people's lives. And I can't remember exactly the year it was, but we were at the Thatch pub one year, and one of your members got a mobility scooter, and it was just so lovely to see everyone in the pub was crying. Like, it was just, and you could see how much it changed that particular man's life. So when I first set up my first fundraising page, I think I used Just Giving, I was really surprised how quickly people got behind me. And as you've already said, Adam, I wasn't a natural runner. And I started literally right from the beginning. So I started doing Couch to 5K. And I remember the first time I ran around, like, we live in Wimborne, and there's a block of our houses, and I think it's about a mile long or so. And I remember the first time I actually ran a mile just straight, and it was just incredible. So you've already said the first fundraising event I did was Bournemouth Half Marathon, and that was in 2015. that gave me the bug. And I can't remember how much friends and family donated, but I think it was about £700. And I just thought, wow, this is incredible. So I wanted to do more. So the following year I did 2 half marathons and the full Bournemouth Marathon, which was great, and I raised even more money. But in 2018, I ran both the London and Edinburgh marathons, and they're a month apart. And it was so hard, but it was so worth it. And it was such a great experience. But the training took months of hard work and time. Often my dad, he's got a mobility scooter. He went along beside me, and he used to time his mobility scooter to how fast I ran. So I think it was about, I can't remember. I think Dad will know, but I used to run about sort of a 11-minute mile, and he could go and keep up the pace, and it made me like keep up the pace. So it was really motivating, and I really appreciate all the time he took and his support, because he did do it for hours and hours with me. But one of the main reasons that I raised so much was we did this fundraising night, and that was in March 2018. And it was a quiz night, and I think we raised over about £1,200. So all the people that came, I think they paid £5 a ticket. We did a raffle, and local and national businesses donated to that. So we got like a signed AFC Bournemouth football. Audi, the car company, they donated like golf day for 4 people. Next sent me a massive box of photo frames, like just really nice home accessories, which people like donated. And it was just so kind, and just like the awareness that like created for the companies, it was absolutely brilliant, and the support they gave us was fantastic as well. And there was a lot of buzz as well. We did a lot of social media, a lot of posters. One of our friends has like a graphics company, and he designed it, and it was just a brilliant event. A lot of other people heard about it, which was great as well. I'm amazed that it's nearly £5,000. That is just such a lot of money. I can't believe it. But I would be keen to do something else in the future. Some of you saw my little boy, so he's been keeping me busy, but me and my partner were speaking, and we would like to do something else in the future. It probably won't be running, because I probably couldn't run about 10 steps now because I'm so unfit, but I would love to do something in the future. So thank you all again, really appreciate this. I've loved every minute of fundraising, and it makes it so worthwhile knowing that it goes to such a fantastic cause. So thank you.
That's lovely. Excellent. Thank you very much, Jade. Brilliant. Okay. Next, we move on to trustee elections. This year, Mike is the only trustee coming to the end of his 3-year term. Mike decided to stand for re-election, and new members voted. As you can see, Mike gets a clear majority and is re-elected as a trustee, and I look forward to working with him going forward. There is more news on the trustee front. This slide shows the trustees for this year. There is Mike, John, Dave, Mitesh working with me. Everyone is carrying on in their roles, with John being treasurer, Dave being secretary, and Mitesh being membership secretary. I thank them all for their continuing excellent work with the group, and look forward to moving the group forwards in a nice coordinated fashion. As I mentioned earlier, John and Dave are looking to step down this time next year, which gives us a year to find people to take on these roles and have enough time for a really good handover. You should also note that 2 trustees are standing down this year. We appointed Neil Cuthbertson as a trustee towards the end of 2020, but he has had some changes at work and felt unable to continue in this trustee role. Although Neil's time as a trustee was relatively short, he made important contributions. Also, Ian Bennett has decided to step down as a trustee at this AGM. As I mentioned earlier, Ian's been working with the group for many years, and has been a trustee ever since our charity registration back in 2004. Ian has collectively worn the greatest number of hats for the group, and members will be pleased to hear that Ian is carrying on editing Newslink. Now, I asked Ian if he would like to say a few words to you, So I think I'll use my radio presenter voice and hand over to our studio down in Dorset. Ian, are you there?
I am, yes. Sorry, it took me a while to find the mute button. Yeah, and you'll notice my daughter takes after me and likes to chat. If I could have a couple of minutes of your time as
You're
well.
welcome to.
I've now been involved with the group for nearly 20 years, and I've been a trustee for most of that time. During this time, I've been very lucky because I've always worked with a great team. Initially, and I'm going back, nearly 20 years now, this comprised of the amazing David Pearce, Mike Fawcett, and Steph. I think Steph's with us today. And although many other great volunteers were involved, these three individuals were responsible for getting the HSP group established in the first place. Many of you will remember the late David Pearce and Mike Fawcett. They were two very, very special men. They did so much for HSP, and I know I'll never forget them. We're very lucky because the great team at the helm of the HSP group has continued to this day, and it's been a real pleasure working with them too. I'd like to give a particular shout out to the holders of the three main positions of chair, treasurer, and secretary. You've heard from all three of them today, and that's Adam, John Mason, and Dave Harris. Believe me, they work their cotton socks off for us, and behind the scenes, they provide so much time and effort for the benefit of the group. They provide a wealth of knowledge, and unlike me, on occasions, a wealth of wisdom. And because of their great input, the HSP group has continued to thrive. I must also mention Mitesh Patel, who you just heard from. He took over my position as membership secretary 12 months ago, and I'm sure you'll have noticed that he's fitted in perfectly and without any problems whatsoever, and he's doing a grand job. So thank you, Mitesh. I'm standing down mainly because I don't have quite the energy levels that I had 20 years ago. And I'd like to now lower my workload a little, but I certainly won't be disappearing. I'll continue to be involved, particularly with meetings, the editing of the newsletter, and of course, the occasional music festival when COVID allows. I'm intending to hold a Zoom meeting every couple of months for all members. One positive from the pandemic for me, from the COVID pandemic, has been seeing how Zoom has enabled certain members to interact with us who would otherwise be unable to attend physical meetings. One or two of these people have even told me how valuable this has been for them, and I think it's so important that we continue with this activity. I'll also continue organising physical meetings down at Ashburton, and might have another plan or two up my sleeve, so watch this space. I'm just about to start putting together the next news link. Adam mentioned this earlier. I am a little bit short on material, so please, if you have anything that you feel may be interesting or amusing for other members, please put pen to paper and share it with me. It's been a pleasure getting to know many of you over the years. I've made some great friendships, and there'll be lifelong friendships, and that's thanks to the HSP Support Group. Thank you all for your support, your input, and your encouragement over the years, but most of all, for simply putting up with me. Thank you.
That's wonderful. Thank you very much, Ian. Brilliant. Okay. Why is my mouse not working? That's better. Right, lovely. So the next item on the agenda is our group name change. Part of the reason for trying to reach out to as many of you as possible for voting was to capture as big a vote as possible in this important decision. 75 members cast a vote on this matter. Out of the 4 choices, there were approximately the same number of votes for keeping our current name and for HSP UK. In fact, there was just one more vote for HSP UK than for keeping the current name. We had a trustee meeting a few days ago to talk about this, and we decided that one vote was not a sufficiently large majority to trigger a name change for the group. So we avoid making this vote like the Brexit vote, and we will carry on being the HSP Support Group. I thank everybody that took the time to submit their votes in to us and I encourage other members to use their membership in the future to let us know how they feel about these important issues. I'm delighted that we've been able to allow any member to take part in this important activity wherever they are in the country. Out of the 3 name choices, it is very clear that HSP UK is the preferred choice, and we will explore if it might be possible for us to use this in some circumstances. For anyone disappointed by the decision, we might review the name again in the future, particularly if we are able to increase our income and have a stronger steer on types of research projects or a greater influence in the rare disease community. We'll keep you updated how things change. So we are now coming to the end of the AGM. Before I close with details of a few dates for your diary, Rachel, can you give me an update on if there's anything important on the chat pane that we need to cover?
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
Brilliant. Lovely. Excellent. So there are 3 things that I need to tell you about for your diary. Firstly, I'd like to thank Rachel for this excellent idea. It draws on Estelle's approach of reinterpreting Sir Captain Tom Moore's 100 laps of his garden. We would like the members of the group to be able to get virtually along all the 1,000 miles from Land's End to John O'Groats. Those who have been members for a while may remember that 3 people have actually gone from Land's End to John O'Groats to raise money for the group. Richard Williams cycled the route in 2005, and in 2016 it was done twice by Simon Hubbard on his bike, and Stuart Montrose chose to walk it. Members can use any method of transport they like: wheelchairs, mobility scooters, bikes, walking, swimming, and so on. I know that there are members that like to ride horses and others that like to go about in boats. Any distance would count. We'll work out the final details in the next few days, but we'd add together the distances of everybody each week. If we took 10 weeks to do it, it would be about 100 miles a week. So if every member did 500 yards or 500 meters per week, we get this smashed easily. Some of you will know that I ride my bike regularly, so I will contribute about 60 miles a week to the total. We're interested in capturing contributions of every scale. I was talking about this with my mum, who uses an electric chair all the time. She said her doctor's is 1 mile up the road, so a trip for her to the doctor's would add 2 miles to the total. Anyone can log any normal everyday movements, or you could set yourself a personal challenge. We'd be very happy to hear from everybody with their distances and perhaps with a few photos for social media. And we'll collectively map our progress as we go up and hopefully move the group forwards together from one end of the country to the other. This slide should also look very familiar. I used it last year. Next year's AGM will be on Saturday, the 2nd of July, 2022. And I really do hope that we are back at the Tally Ho Conference Centre in Birmingham. And as was the plan for this year, attendance will be free of charge. And lastly, we've got presentations lined up coming up over the rest of the summer. At the moment, I've got 3 talks lined up, and I'm trying to arrange one for the middle weekend of August so that they are every 2 weeks going forward. We've got Henry Hulden, who works at the National Hospital for Neurology and Neurosurgery in London, and he's talked with us before. He's going to be talking about the range of HSP in the UK, with details of some of the findings from the 100,000 Genomes Project. He will also be mentioning building a new registry, which is a project idea that we are starting to explore. At the end of July, we've got Coralie Seary, who is a physiotherapist working at UCL in London and specialising in functional electrical stimulation. She will be talking about falls prevention and management, looking at what might cause a fall, what you can do to manage your risk of falling, and what to do if you fall. At the end of August, we have Ray Owen, who is the author of the book Living with the Enemy, as recommended at our 2017 AGM. Ray is a clinical psychologist working in cancer and palliative care. He will be covering mindfulness, acceptance, and values, talking about a recent science-based approach to living well despite difficult circumstances. We will follow the same format as last year, presentation via Zoom with the ability to ask questions afterwards. All three presenters have already agreed for me to put these presentations up on our YouTube channel, and I hope to see many of you there. And so that brings us to the end of our second digital AGM. I'd like to thank everybody for taking the time to take part in this, and to thank everybody who makes a contribution to the group, to HSP, or in any way they do.